So I had a couple questions about how I would implement Carb Nite solution, which is by John Kiefer, who prefers to just be called Kiefer. And you may know him from Dangerously Hardcore, which is no longer his website. I think it's now Athlete.io, which I have heard recently he's going to be changing that as well. But regardless, Kiefer wrote the Carb Nite solution, which I have in hardback, or paperback, sorry, but I have a hard copy is what I mean. I have a hard copy, paperback, and he also wrote Carb Backloading. But we're going to talk about Carb Nite solution. So, without any further ado, the basic premise of Carb Nite solution is pretty simple. Basically, you just cycle carbs. So you go 5 to 7 days without eating carbs, and then you have a huge carb meal, Carb Nite. You know, it's like maybe a couple meals, but there's a window, 6 to 8 hours of eating where you're going to eat a lot of carbs. What that does is it stimulates insulin. When you release the insulin, it also causes leptin to go back up. When leptin goes back up, your basal metabolic rate goes back up. So whenever you are on a ketogenic diet, and this is, sorry guys, this is just science. This is, I mean, it's not up for debate. When you're on a ketogenic diet, your basal metabolic rate does go down, and it's just how it is. Sorry. So your basal metabolic rate will go down because your body's becoming more efficient. And actually, this is a topic for another video, but you're able to generate more ATP from fat than you are from carbohydrates. So that's why you can actually eat less food, if this is making sense, because your body needs ATP. Another video. The point is, when you're on a ketogenic diet, you don't need as much food. Your body's just running on less input because it's getting more output for the amount that you're putting in. So moving forward, how do I adjust Carb Nite solution? So I used Carb Nite solution. I have to say it worked really, really well. It worked fantastic, actually. It worked a little bit too well. I got a little bit too lean, and when I got too lean, I didn't feel so hot. My strength kind of went down a little bit, and I think I might have been a little bit overly aggressive with it to really try to test it out. You know, one of the things that I did personally was that on my carb nights, I would drop the fat. So I would do low fat, extremely high carbs. Whereas I think that, you know, Kiefer says, like, oh, you relax, you can have a piece of cheesecake, you know, you can have some donuts. It's just not my personality. I'm a very uptight, type A personality, very regimented. I need it to be exact. I know exactly how many grams of food I eat. And people probably would call that orthorexia, but I mean, I'm that way with everything that I do. Everything I do is precise. I'm just a perfectionist, so shoot me. But in any case, the thing is the way that I adjusted Carb Nite. So originally, I first started doing Carb Nite, and I just cut out the carbs, and I didn't pay any attention to fat or protein as far as like, oh, I make a conscious effort to eat this much or that much. I just, boom, straight out, just drop the carbs, and then I would have a carb up. And that worked well. I don't want to say that didn't work. That worked perfect, actually. It worked just fine. In fact, actually, that variation of the diet is highly effective. I got really lean on it, and I didn't lose muscle. It worked really well. But once you get down, this is for men, women obviously are going to be a little bit higher, but once you get down below 10% body fat, it's very, very hard to strip off more body fat because your body wants to hold on to that fat as a protective mechanism. Your body thinks it's protecting itself to hold on to some fat stores. So you almost have to trick your body. And this is where I kind of started playing with things. So I started going on a ketogenic diet. And that would be like 20% protein, 80% fat, and that's what I was doing for like Sunday through Friday, and then every Saturday I would have these huge carb meals. I mean, like I'd bust out like the Vitargo, and I'd go grab like red vines. Red vines are a great carb source. I think it's like 34 grams of carbohydrates for every 4. Yeah. So I mean that's insanely high. Who can't eat, you know, 16 pieces of licorice? Anyone can, especially over the course of a night. You could easily finish off the whole bag. So it was a really easy way to get high carbs without having to resort to high fat foods as well. And then the other cool trick was that I started using Stonyfield Farms non-fat frozen yogurt. That's what it was. Yeah, and that's just pure carbs and protein. You don't need to avoid protein on Carb Nite. But that was my implementation of Carb Nite. My tweak on Carb Nite was that I did a ketogenic diet for 6 days, and then on the seventh day, I did a keto diet for half the day, and then the second half of the day, I did a high carb, low fat diet. And I did as low fat as I could possibly keep it. I'm not going to tell you, oh no, I didn't get any fat, because of course I ate some meat and stuff like that, and you're going to get some fat. Even if you have a chicken breast, you're going to have some fat on that. But the thing was is that I would kind of like, I would make a conscious effort to eat higher fat in the morning on that day. That way, I had my fats for the whole day, so I certainly wasn't deficient. But the thing is, by the time I started my carb ups, I was dropping the fat out because I had already eaten my fat that morning. That night, I didn't need to eat any more fat, and so that's how I implemented it. And I got really, really lean. In fact, I'll see if I can't figure out how to attach a picture to this so you guys can see just how lean I got. So I hope that helps.